Welcome to Powerful Women Rising, a podcast for female entrepreneurs ready to do business their way. Grab your coffee and join host Melissa Snow, business relationship strategist and founder of the Powerful Women Rising community, as she interviews industry experts and shares insights on strategy, marketing, mindset, and more. Here, you'll find the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to feel empowered, take bold action in your business, and keep rising.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Powerful Women Rising podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Snow. It's great to be back here with you on this lovely Monday morning. If you're listening to this the day that it comes out, the moment that it comes out, then I guess it is still Monday morning. If you follow me on social media, you know that I got a new cat about a month ago. His name is Sir Vincent McFrowny Pants, and he is here with me sitting on the desk, and he's snoring very loudly. I don't know if you've ever had a Persian cat or known a Persian cat. This is my first. He is 16, and he has a very smushed face and a very loud snore. So fortunately, I have a great podcasting mic, and you cannot hear Vinny and his snoring. Anyways, if you are new to the podcast, welcome. As I said, my name is Melissa Snow. I'm a business relationship strategist. What in the hell does that mean? It means that I help you grow your business through creating real connections and authentic relationships with other humans. I know, it's a very novel idea. But what I found in my business when I started out as a dating and relationship coach was I spent so much time and money on things that I thought were going to be the thing that finally brought me success. And looking back, I realized that almost all of the clients that I had, almost all of the money that I made as a dating and relationship coach came from the connections that I had made and the relationships that I'd built. It wasn't from the expensive masterminds or the VIP days or the social media how to go viral courses that I took, right? Like all of those things are an important part of business at some point. But the biggest thing is just getting out and meeting people, having conversations, networking like a human and not like a salesy weirdo. And that truly is the simplest and most sustainable form of business growth. So I run a monthly virtual speed networking event. If you're listening to this on Monday, the day it comes out, you still have a couple days to get your ticket for our next event, which is coming up on Thursday. I will put the link in the show notes as always, so you can go and grab your ticket. We would love to see you there. I also run an online community for female entrepreneurs called the Powerful Women Rising Community. And there's always a link in the show notes if you want to learn more about how to join us and all of the benefits of being a member of the community. For now, however, let's dive into today's episode, which is an interview that I did with Melissa Rich, who is the founder of Virtually Done Systems, which is a business dedicated to all things systems and workflows for small business owners. And if you're anything like me, you don't get super excited when we talk about systems and workflows. I'm like, I don't know if it's my ADHD or if it's just me, but I hear those two words and I'm like, that sounds hard. Goodbye. I'm going to go take a nap. So if that's you also, stick with us because Melissa is really going to simplify a lot of these things for you, help you see why they're important, and figure out how to get these systems and workflows in place the simplest way possible to really optimize the way that your business runs. She spent the last 16 years behind the camera as a full-time wedding photographer, secretly enjoying all the behind-the-scenes work more than her time making pictures. And now she specializes in helping overwhelmed business owners get their lives back by implementing strategized systems, workflows, and automations to take care of the day-to-day tasks that stress them out so that they can fall back in love with their businesses, spend less time behind their laptops, and live their damn lives. Who doesn't want that? Where do we sign up? Sign me up. I'm ready. Where's the sign up? I'm here. All right, friends, here is my interview with Melissa Rich. Hello, Melissa. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am excited to talk to you. Two Melissas in one podcast is my favorite thing.
Right? That never happens.
Well, it's happened once before. And I asked that Melissa too at the very beginning. I was like, you're not a Leo, are you?
Okay, no, good. I'm a Scorpio.
Okay, good. I'm a Leo. We
Right?
can't take two Leo Melissas in one
No.
place. It's too
No, believe
much.
it or not, growing up, my best friend, her name was also Melissa.
Oh,
So
whoa.
it's like, right?
Did she spell it the same too?
She does. We called her, I went to a teeny tiny high school. Like we were all in one class. It was that small. And so people called her Mel and people called me Liz. And I still get so mad when people try to call me Mel now. Can't do
So together you guys were like a whole Melissa.
it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I see a lot of other people. I mean, Melissa, you must have been an 80s baby because Melissa was
hmm
the thing in the 80s. But a
hmm
lot of people don't spell it like we spell it.
No, they don't. Not at all.
We're in the era of weird name spelling.
Yes, that's very safe to say. Somebody had to spell Brittany for me the other day, and there was a Y and two T's and an A and an I, and like I was so thrown off. I was like, wait a minute.
Because we ran out of names. So we're like, we'll just use the same names and spell them different.
Oh my gosh, right?
Okay, so let's get to the point. I have that problem a lot. We are talking today about client experiences and about having systems in place that improve your client experiences, why it matters if your clients have a good experience other than the obvious. But before we dive into some of that, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about you, what you do, why you're the person here talking about client experience and systems?
Yeah, so I am the formal, super not fun version is a systems and operations consultant, right? And my email title, I kind of call myself a systems secret weapon. That's what I prefer. But I am a systems and workflow geek and nerd, and I love it. I started my business to help small creative business owners get their lives back, right? So often creative business owners, they want to focus on doing the thing that they love. And then as a byproduct of that, the other part of running a business gets neglected. I love working with them to be the other half of their brain to get that up to speed so that they can actually do more of what they love without neglecting the other half of their business. So workflows, automations, oh gosh, email templates, the whole nine yards, whatever we can do to make your life easier, that's what I do.
I love that. How did you get into doing that kind of work?
It's kind of a topsy-turvy curvy story, if you will.
They usually are.
Right? Right out of college, I worked for a large healthcare IT company on a process improvement team. And so that's where I initially fell in love with like workflows and workflow mapping and everything like that. Fast forward 7 years, and I quit my corporate job to run a wedding photography business with my husband, where I learned about the creative aspect and how to work with creatives of all different types and how to run a business and everything like that. The pandemic hit and our wedding business got hit really, really hard. And so I picked up some VA work and I realized that the work that I loved most doing with those clients had to do with systems and workflows, right? And so then I started my business and here we are. I love it.
That's genius. Because most entrepreneurs that I talk to are not like, the part that I really love is systems and workflow.
No, this is the really not sexy part of business that everybody hates and that nobody likes to spend time on. But it's honestly like make it or break it. You know what I mean? You can't grow, you
Totally.
can't scale without the systems and operations in place to support you. So,
Yeah.
you're right about that, Melissa, 100%.
Well, and what's so cool about what you do too is I was just having this conversation with somebody else this morning is so many of us, like when we got into entrepreneurship, it wasn't because we wanted to do sales and marketing and build funnels and automations and email sequences and like do our own bookkeeping. Like that was none of the stuff we wanted to do. We wanted to make the thing or provide the service, help the people, talk to whatever. And then we get into entrepreneurship and we realize, okay, we actually have to do all of those other things too. And I don't want to.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Not only do I not want to, but I also don't really have the time to teach myself to do, right? Like I got to teach myself to be a bookkeeper. I got to teach myself to be a online marketer. I got to teach myself to be a social media, whatever. Like nobody has time to learn to do all the things. So we
And
are really
honestly,
glad
yeah.
you exist.
Well, and nobody has like the brain power to do all of that. You know what I mean? And honestly, I said I was a wedding photographer for 15 years. I never identified as being a creative. You know what I mean? And so I feel like I understand that world well enough to be able to get into creative people's brains and pull out what we need to pull out to make their lives easier and to make their businesses run smoother while making it not super painful for them, if you will.
I love that. That's awesome. So let's talk first about this phrase client journey, because I feel like this is something that we hear a lot. We hear business coaches talking about it. It's kind of sometimes a buzzword that everybody's like, oh yeah, the client journey. And so many people are like, oh yeah, I have a client journey. But all of us, I feel like secretly are like, what is the client journey just like, oh, she signed up for a consult and then she booked with me and now she's my client and now this is how I offboard her? Like, is that what we're talking about?
I love this question so much because you are so right. It's something that gets skipped over so often, right? It gets used, but then there's no how-to explanation for it. So I consider the client journey to be every interaction that you have with your client from the time they inquire. So before they're a client, right? When they're just a brand new lead until the time you hand off that final deliverable, final files, whatever that might be, right? That is your client journey. It's different for every type of business. It's a different length for every type of business. It's going to be different for different kind of service providers, depending on what you do. So that makes it hard, right? Because your client journey is 6 months and 3 days, and here's exactly how you split it up and break it up. You have to know your client, what they need from you, and the service that you provide to them inside and out to be able to really identify that client journey, if you will, which sounds super complicated. But
so will every client have the same journey?
oh, good question. In an ideal world, that's what your systems are there for, right? So often, though, when we are new business owners, we are throwing spaghetti at the wall trying to figure out what that client journey looks like. And having been a business owner for 15, 16, 17 years now, I can say that your client journey often starts in one place and you think you have it nailed down, and then something in your business changes and your client journey changes and evolves a little bit too, right? I want to pause for a minute because client journey is this big whole piece from start to finish, right? But that can be so overwhelming for small business owners to figure out what to do with, if you will. And so I really recommend that when you think about your client journey, you chunk it up into different smaller parts, right? That way you're not thinking about the big thing as a whole, but smaller pieces, right? So you've got the inquiry phase, which is lead to booking. You've got booking, which is when they say, hey, I want to give you money to work with you. That's when you sign the contract, make things official. You've got, depending on your business, you've got onboarding, or you hop right into, I'm going to call it the development phase, which could be when you give the client the thing that they're paying you to do. You take that all the way through to the offboarding phase, because let's face it, you don't just want to hand the goods over and say, see you later. You've got to follow up, ask for a review, check in, do all of these things, right? So a client journey consists of several smaller pieces, and looking at those smaller pieces makes it so much more easy, feasible to really dive in and do the work that needs to be done in it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking about the relevance of a client journey. And one of the things that we talk about on this podcast a lot is business relationships and networking, and referrals are a part of that, right? Like our current clients and our former clients become part of our network. And oftentimes, if we are doing a good job, they become referral partners for us. And so when does that actually start to matter? Like which part of the client journey? Is it like the moment they reach out to us, that's the beginning of us creating that connection and starting to build that trust and loyalty so they become referral partners?
100%, because that first connection, that first interaction can make it or break it. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like, it all eyes on this and put so much weight into it, but that's where you really set the tone and the expectation of what it's like to work with you and of what they can expect from you. Not just in terms of running your business, but in terms of what type of human you are and how you like to communicate and how you treat people as well too. And so I think it really does start from the very beginning. I've worked with so many business owners who have and there's no, let me preface this by saying there's no right or there's no wrong, right? There's no right way to run a business. There's no right way to have a client experience. There's no specific number of steps that you need, right? But when you think about your client journey and how to really build a great client experience, especially if you want to build a referral out of that, get referrals out of it and build your network. It's got to start at the beginning, and you have to think about every little interaction that goes into it, every piece of communication, everything like that, all the way until the end when you actually ask for the referral, or when your client's like, hey, you've got to work with so and so and so and so.
So how do systems play into that whole process and creating that loyalty from the very beginning?
So I love how you are leading us here, right? So you asked earlier, or you mentioned earlier, does every client have the same journey? In your business, yes, that's where systems come into play, right? So say I'm sitting down and I'm mapping out this workflow for my clients. I like to use sticky notes because it makes it fun and colorful and easy to move things around, besides the point. But I'm mapping out this client workflow. I'm thinking of all the steps that my clients for this one type of service that I have go through. What are the questions they get asked? What information do I need from them? What information do they need from me? I want to give everybody that same exact service. That way, if I have two clients that know each other, they're not like, oh, well, I worked with Melissa and she did this for me. And the other one's like, but I paid her more than that and I didn't get that, or I didn't get that, or you know what I mean? And so that can cause confusion about your business, and it can cause, I don't want to say it makes your clients not trust you more, but it causes some confusion in there about what it's really like to work with you and who you are the real you with. And so your systems and your workflows come into play because you set them up to cater to deliver that exact same repeatable service to all of your clients, no matter what you have going on in life or what they have going on or that kind of thing. You want it to be repeatable and consistent. And that is how you really, by nurturing your clients the same, that's how you really foster that referral relationship that you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking this in my own context of my own business. I've done a lot of work this year in getting things automated and not doing things the way that I was doing it before. And I will say, like, it works until it doesn't work anymore, right? Like when I first launched my Powerful Women Rising community, I had built the sales page on Canva myself. It took me like 1,000 hours, but I did it. And if you wanted to join, you clicked on the link on the Canva page. It took you to like a Google form that you filled out. And then there was a link on the Google form that took you to Stripe. You paid on Stripe. You came back to the Google form. You did the thing. It worked fine, right? When I started the community. And it worked fine for the first 30, 40, 50 people who joined. And I remember when I was like, okay, I think I need like an actual website now. And I was having a conversation with this guy about building my website. And he's like, well, how are you currently doing it? And I told him what I just told you. And he's like, okay, how's that working? And I was like, well, it was working fine. And now I need something else. So like, there's nothing wrong with like doing it that way. There's nothing wrong with like manually responding to everything or whatever it is that's working for you in the beginning. But you'll find there's a point where you're like, okay, how I've been doing this is not sustainable. And now I need to get some systems and processes and automations in place. And one of the things that I've found since doing that is it takes a lot of pressure and stress off of me, but it also establishes with my clients from the very beginning, like you're going to get a response from me. You're going to have the information that you need. You're not going to have to like reach out to me in a week and be like, hey, I still haven't gotten the thing. What do I do? So having those things in place, I think that also sets them up to be happy from the very beginning, as opposed to like when you buy something and then you buy something online, a course or something. And then a week later, you have to reach out to their customer service and be like, hi, I bought your course and I never got anything. Like that doesn't start the relationship out in a lovely way.
No, not at all. Also, I love your point about it's okay to do things manually to a certain point, right? I worked with a client a while back and I said, why did you come to me? What's going on? And she goes, well, my business coach asked me if I got 50 leads in my inbox today, if my systems could support that. And I looked at her and I said, they couldn't support 5 leads all at the same time in my inbox. Right? And so you got to think about that as well, too. I'm not saying that we are all going to have that overnight moment where we open up our inbox and there are 50 leads there waiting for us to respond to. I mean, ideally, yes, right? But like, what if that does happen? Can you handle it? You're going to be writing emails if you're doing it manually. Can you imagine going through your process for 50 clients all on the same day at the same time, Melissa? Like,
Right.
it's just bonkers. And then that client experience, some are going to get it, some are going to not going to get it, some are going to get skipped over. It's just a nature of being human. And so systems really help you tailor and make sure that that client experience is consistent for everybody. I'm not saying that you have to automate everything, right? I am personally in pro automation. I love it. But automate what you're comfortable with until you get comfortable with that, and then add something else on to make your life a little bit easier, because that's where you're really going to save so much time.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that automation piece a little bit, because systems and automation are not always the same thing. And I think part of the reason that people are reluctant to set up systems that involve automation is because they don't want to lose that personal touch, and they feel like it's going to be actually a worse experience for their client, because their client is going to feel like they're talking to a robot. Like, we all know, we've all gotten the email. I'm sure I've sent it out before that says, hi, in parentheses, first name, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, okay, first of all, that didn't auto-populate the way it was supposed to. And also now I know this is like your automated email that's going out to everyone, but you're trying really hard to make it look like it's going out to me. And so what do you recommend for people who want to still have that high touch client experience? They still want to be like personally connected to their clients, and for their clients to feel personally connected to them. And also they want systems in place and automation so that they don't have to spend all their time doing all the things.
Oh my gosh. This is one piece of this business that gets such a bad rap, and I love it so much because there's so many things that you can do, Melissa. The first piece is you should always, I hate to should, right? I don't like to say you should do this, you should do that. I don't like to should on ourselves, right? But like, you should realistically update any templates to be in your brand voice. A big part of why automations get a bad rap and can feel robotic is because we haven't taken the time to make it feel like we are having a one-on-one or a face-to-face conversation with our clients, right? That's going to come down to writing emails and copywriting templates and things like that, which I know is not my favorite thing to do in my business, but it's essential to really make your clients feel like they're getting that one-on-one touch from you. Write your emails like you're having a conversation with somebody, right? Don't just chat GPT it. I mean, if you're going to use chat GPT, give me some ideas for this. Take that idea, tweak it, put it in your brand voice. Use words that you would use having a conversation with a client. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You really have to like infuse it with your personality. And then after you're done writing it, and this sounds so silly, but like, read the dang thing out loud to see how it sounds, right? Because if you read, hi, first name, I hope all is well, blah, 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 that's how your client's going to read it too. Instead of it says, hey, girl, I just wanted to check in on this. Does that feel like a robotic email that's automated, or does that feel like a personal reach out? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so you want the components of your workflows and automations to feel like you. The second piece of this, most CRMs, all CRMs on the market have what are called custom fields, smart fields, custom variables. They all call it something different, right? But it's essentially the first name in brackets, right? That you can implement throughout your copy and your email copy. Use those, customize them, and don't just use them for like first name and date and delivery date and things like that. Create a custom field for their dog's name, or for what they like to do on the weekends. I like to ask my clients, what are you going to do when we get you all this time back, right? Because that's the point of workflows. Oh, I'm going to hang out with my kids more, I'm going to go on vacation, or that kind of thing, right? I have a custom field for that in my workflow so that I can reference that in these emails. And so then it feels like I took the time to like really write this out. And it sounds bad saying I didn't, but who has time for that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
So use the custom fields. Use them to the moon and back if you can, because they make life so much easier. Other little things to keep in mind, don't send emails at like 1 a.m. Set your workflows up so that they send emails at a normal person time, right? Like 8:03 or 8:26 instead of 8 o'clock on the dot. Just
Mm-hmm.
little things make the biggest difference in the world.
Yeah. You ready for a pro tip?
Yes,
I'm going to tell you the pro tip.
I would love it.
One of my favorite podcast interviews ever that I've done was about GIFs and using GIFs in your marketing and in your emails. And Deanna Seymour is the one I interviewed. You should check her out on Instagram or wherever, because she's amazing. And she, after I did that interview, I changed my life. I try not to overdo it. I'm like, hi, here's another email with another GIF. Isn't it funny? But I have added them into some of my sequences and things like that, because I feel like it's just that's something that I would send if you and I were texting, right? I think I'm freaking hilarious. And I have friends that I can have an entire conversation just in GIFs. And so when I put those in my emails, I feel like that they're getting a little more sense of me and what I like and what I think is funny and clever. And it makes them feel more connected also, because it's not just here's my robot email.
Exactly. I like to use emojis the same way.
Mm-hmm.
In my personal email that I have when I deliver a finished build to my clients, it's this is done, it's ready. I use the Oprah, you get a card, you get a card, you get a card gift. You know what I mean? Because it's yeah.
I love that. I was really sad when ChatGPT first started and they were using overusing the emojis. And everybody was like, I can tell that ChatGPT wrote your post because there's all these emojis. And I'm like, no, bro, I love emojis.
Me
I was
too.
putting those in long before ChatGPT started.
Right. Well, and here's the thing about ChatGPT. So I'm not above using tools that will work for you, especially for something that you like. If you are having problems writing you have this nurture sequence to your clients that you want to fill them with full of information between the time they book and let's say you're not starting your project for 6 months down the line, you got to nurture those clients, right? And so I'm not above using a tool like ChatGPT to come up with ideas to fill that of how you can nurture that client. The catch is you want it to know, you want to feed it the information. This is my brand voice. These are words that I use. These are words that I don't use. Help me write an email for this client at this stage in their client journey with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't just say, write an email for this.
Yeah. No, I love me some ChatGPT, but there's also a way to use it and a way that's not as great to use it.
Correct. Exactly.
So, what are some mistakes that you see people making most commonly when they are trying to build client loyalty? And how does having the right systems help them avoid those things?
Oh,
that was a big question.
No, it was a big question. It was a good one, though. It was a good one. I'm in my brain. I'm like, where do I start with that one? Honestly, the biggest mistake is thinking that a high touch nurturing client experience it's going to get you referrals means that you have to do everything on your own, right? Automate things, use scheduling tools. You know what I mean? A lot of people also make the mistake of I want to deliver a super high touch experience to my clients, which means I need to give them access to me at all times. You wouldn't think that access to you and setting boundaries has to do with workflows and systems, but your systems, your automations, your workflows, the schedulers you use in those workflows can help you set healthy mental health boundaries for you and your business, right? We all want to be available to our clients all the time. We never want to tell anybody no. As a people pleaser, I'm like, yes, I can drop this and do this right now. That's not good for you or your client. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
By using a scheduler and setting boundaries in your workflows that way, it's good for you and your client. You know what I mean? Set boundaries. You are the boss of your business. Don't be afraid to limit your access to yourself. That's okay. I had that conversation with a client today, actually. It's like, Val, if you only want to meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays because you got to pick your girlies up from school, you're the boss. You can do that, you know? So not using boundaries is a big mistake as well, too. Trying to get everything perfect in a workflow, in a system, in a client journey because you think if it's not absolutely perfect, there's no chance of a referral, right? Recovery and perfectionist here, Melissa. Just the truth, just the fact. Back to the matter. Book the bookcase. Here's the thing though. Done is better than perfect. We talked earlier about how your client journey can change and evolve as your business grows and changes and evolves. A big mistake I see a lot of business owners make is thinking, but I'm just new, or I'm just this, or I'm just that. And so I want to make sure that my experience is perfect from start to finish before I start delivering any of it. Because otherwise, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
The point is you're not delivering a client experience at all. You're not doing anything to earn that referral besides what the client hired you for at all, right? So it's better to start small and evolve that workflow, evolve that system into what you want it to be instead of not starting at all or not delivering anything at all. And again, when it comes to getting referrals from your clients, that's saying, hi, I'm going to book you or you're going to book me and you're going to give me all this money. And then I'm not going to give you information. I'm going to do the thing and then I'm going to hand it over and that's it. Right? That's great. But what if it's a $10,000 coaching experience, right? If you at least try to deliver a little bit of a nurturing workflow using your CRM, that's going to make the biggest difference for your client and for your experience and for the potential for referrals in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking when you're talking about that of a coach that I recently worked with, and she has like a very robust automation setup. And I worked with her for 6 months, and each month we only met like on Zoom for 90 minutes a month. But she had so many, and I know they were like, they go out to the same people. It's fine. But so many emails set up on automation for those 6 months that were like, journal about this tonight, try this tomorrow. Have you been thinking about this? And I could email her back and she would often respond to me, but just having those emails that I was getting consistently, like the fact that we only met once a month, I never felt like completely disconnected from her. Or like when we met and we hadn't met for a month, I never felt like, oh, you have no idea what's going on and I have no idea what's going on. Like, so it can be a really good way to stay connected with your people, especially if you have the kind of service or product that you're delivering where like there are long periods of time between when you're having contact with them.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And people often, when they map out their client journey and identify, especially if it's a big gap, they'll be like, but what do I fill that gap with? How often do I fill that gap? One, you fill it as often as it feels good to you, right? Not overly annoying your clients, but still consistently in their inbox, right? Two, you ask yourself there's a couple of questions that you want to ask, right? What information do I need from my client? What information do they need from me? And then beyond that, what do I wish they knew about what it's going to be like to work together? What FAQs do clients have? Take each of those pieces, put together a little chit-chatty email like we were just talking about that's super casual, pop it off, drop it in your workflow. Where I assume the emails from your coach were super friendly, super personable. You know what I mean? You knew they were automatic, but as a client, it didn't bother you.
Right.
It's not going to bother your clients either if you're trying to touch base and trying to serve them better. They're just going to appreciate the effort as opposed to book, dead silence, nothing. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. I love this. There's so much that we don't think about. And sometimes these are the things that we learn when we have an unhappy client that we're like, why are you so unhappy? And they're like, well, because I booked with you 3 months ago and then I never heard anything and I had to hunt you down. We're like, oh, I was over here working on your thing. I didn't realize you needed some communication about that. Like sometimes we just have to learn that way.
And sometimes it happens and that's okay. Here's the thing, we all start somewhere. None of us are ever perfect from the get-go. I've had automations fail. Was it embarrassing from the systems person? Yes. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like we correct, we adjust, we evolve, and we move on. I think ultimately, as long as you keep in mind that experience that you want to deliver to your clients and the outcome you want them to have, that can dictate a lot of everything else along the way. Even taking it phase by phase and thinking about that, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's really good. So if people want to connect with you, if they want to learn more about what you do, if they want to learn more about systems, if they're listening to this and they're like, oh my God, like me, this is the problem I have with having such great guests on. I would say like 9 out of 10 interviews that I do, at some point in the interview in my mind, I'm like, I need to hire her. I definitely need to hire her. And then my brain's like, get yourself under control.
shiny object.
But if someone is listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I hate systems and also I need them, where can they find you? How can they connect with you?
Sure. So I'm online, Instagram, website, Virtually Done Systems. Yes, it's a mouthful. There was no good abbreviation. Email is melissa@virtuallydone systems. I'm typically on Instagram, but you can also send me a message through the website, and I would love to chat with you to see how we can get your system sorted out.
Awesome. I love it so much. I will put the links in the show notes so people can connect with you easily. And thank you so much for doing this interview. It was very helpful.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
That's a wrap on this week's episode of Powerful Women Rising. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you love the podcast, make sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, write a review, or buy us a coffee. Your support helps more women like you step into their power and grow their businesses in a way that feels real and true to them. Want to keep the party going? Check out the show notes for details on our next virtual speed networking event, or join us in the Powerful Women Rising community. Until next time, remember that building a business your way is the best way.